once you have involved yourself in therapy and things like that, it's almost like you're culturally like rejected, because it's like, oh, you need therapy. It's like, why you need therapy?
Why you telling your business?
Why you telling people your business?
What happens when you put Mr. Commitment Issues with the jokester, the mixologist, the pretty boy? This is Boys to Men. So our next topic is mental health. In general, do you guys feel like male friendships are supportive of mental health?
I feel very blessed to have found male friendships that are supportive of mental health. But I think that growing up, that was a big portion of why I always gravitated to female friendships. It allowed me to develop an emotional intelligence, and also having a girlfriend from like 5th grade on, so that I had somebody to talk to, because I knew that men isn't where I was finding that, at least like before college.
I will say, as I got older and progressed, my friends now, I feel like my male friends, I have more male friends now who I feel like I can genuinely sit down with and like say, yo, I'm sad. They'll be like, why? And actually care, because they're sad too. And like, especially in a college setting, we don't talk about mental health, and we don't, especially now in the Black community. So I will say that now, as I've gotten older, my friends have become more understanding, simply because we as a people have, I feel like, become more understanding of the prevalence of mental health issues amongst us.
And I feel like there's this idea growing up that men don't have to feel, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if somebody's sad, for example, it's like, oh, you in your bag, like, she got you, and it's like, nah, you in your bag, let's put on the tiller, let's psych, you know what I'm saying?
Bag, let's cry. Let's
like,
cry together.
Let's feel. I feel like I have that support with my friends, and that kind of like causes them to bounce it back like towards me. So now I would say it's like that, but it hasn't always been like that.
I just feel like it's a lot easier to open up to a woman, simply because it's a woman. Your mother's a woman. Most of us were raised by women, so women are the ones who taught us you can cry.
What do you think are some ways that guys can be more open in sharing their emotions with each other?
Talking.
I think were you the one that said, I open up, or no, it was you. I open up about these things with my guy friends, and in turn, they ask me about these things.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's just like, oftentimes being able to initiate, or showing that you trust one enough so that they can trust you back, and just kind of keep that going, even though you can't always trust.
Nah, I feel you, no, but even though I say that, like, I'm someone who's very honest, and I feel like if I give you honesty, I feel like honesty will always be reciprocated.
Right.
So when it comes to like my male friends and opening up, I am still honest with them. Like, for example, like, we got like Ambrose, you guys don't know him. Like, me and Ambrose, like, yo, we're mad cool. Like, we'll like argue one day and cry the next, and then we're like, yo, we still friends. Like, you feel me?
Yeah.
But that's what that's about. And it's just, I don't know.
I think you always know who you can talk to, in a sense. Like, you know, from the minute you meet somebody, like, I know, like, my roommate, Christian, I met him last year. And so, didn't know him from Adam, but, like, now I talk to him about everything. Like, that's my brother. So, I think you always know who you can come to. Like, I've had friends, like, I've had for years. But I know there's certain things I can't talk to them about, because it goes back to the competitive nature. And then it goes back to, okay, if I say this, I may get looked upon less than what I am. Or if I'm crying in front of my boy, he'll look at me like, oh, this kid's a punk, you know. And I think for me personally, I don't know if y'all agree with me, I always have this idea that it'll be used against me.
Yeah, that's,
So I know, like, we all know who we can talk to in the friend group, and you always know it's always that person you can talk to about your whole life story. But I feel that not everybody can get the book, they get the chapter. So yeah,
I like that.
Why do you think that when men are upset, them being upset translates to violence and anger rather than sadness?
Who told you that?
I'm trying to process.
What? That's my question. Who told you that?
I think it's media.
Yeah.
I think if we look at just music videos, well, we don't got music videos no more, but if we look at you know, old music videos like 106 in Park Days and, you know, just movies and television in general, you see the man getting angry and he curses, he's fighting, he's even killing. And then if he's crying out of anger. But the crying doesn't stop at him weeping and just looking like, you know, Jocelyn Hernandez, she's giving birth. Yeah. Like, he won't look like that, you know? He turns into this,
monstrous,
you know,
cry. It's like an angry cry.
I think a lot of it is also because there's an idea that, like, when you're mad and you can be aggressive and violent, you have the opportunity to hurt others like they hurt you. And there's an idea that when you're sad, you're by yourself. So it's kind of like, damn, you piss me off, but I can put my hands on you. I can make you feel what I feel. But if I'm sad, I'm by myself. You know, now no one feels me. Now I'm the only one suffering. Yeah. I think that's a lot of it, too.
I feel like anger affiliated with like, us as men is just the media, like, it constantly being told not to talk. If someone is being told, like, to man up all the time and not share their feelings, I'm not gonna know any other way how to show you emotion except frustration. That if I feel isolated and I feel trapped, if you put an animal in a cage, it's gonna go crazy. Like, you can't tell me what my subconscious is thinking because, like, let's say for 18 years of my life, I was a kid who was raised to not cry, and now I want to cry. I don't know how to cry, so I'm gonna hit something.
Yeah. Yep.
That shit's so real.
That goes along to, like, the way I see it is like building a vocabulary of emotions, right?
Yeah.
And when you have spent so much of your life where, like, you've only been allowed to express these emotions, like, you don't know the wide range. You don't know that you're capable of feeling these other things, or, like, you don't know how to process those kinds of emotions. And so you're limited. And I think that because the media gives us, and we have images of what does it look like to express emotions as a man, it is kind of limited to these, like, angry explosions. Yeah.
Destructive too.
Right. Do you think that mental health is something that's taboo in men or in general the whole Black and Latino community?
I think it's definitely taboo in men, and it becomes even more taboo in men that come from Black and Latino communities. Now, what I will say is that it's hard for Black people to grasp a lot of the concept of depression when relatively comparing it to the American dream or a Caucasian perspective. A lot of Black people have been raised in what white people consider depression. So how are we supposed to call what we grew up in depression, if that makes any sense?
It does.
Yeah.
And I think, like, it goes back to a taboo being very cultural, because I know being from that's a fact, man. being from a Caribbean background, Caribbeans don't talk about what's going on with you. Caribbeans, they say, you know, what are you crying about? Like, what are you sad about? You have a roof over your head, you get fed, you have education, you got clothes on you. What can you possibly be sad about? And then it comes to a conversation of, you know, I'll give you something to be sad about, and stuff like that.
That's my dad's favorite
so
right there.
if you grow,
that's the go-to. Is like,
if you grow up that way, what are you crying about?
Why are you crying, bro? You got food, you got shelter, you got everything, basically. I feel like a lot of us are taught is that if we have the basics, we should be satisfied. However, the conflict that comes in is that generation who's fed up with just the basics, and that's the disconnect. And I feel like that becomes a generational disconnect, because it's like, okay, our parents are telling us we have the basics, but now we're seeing these other kids who have more than the basics, and then in seeing that creates a sadness within people that, like, our parents don't understand, because it's like, I didn't need that, why do you? And it's very hard to look at a child's perspective in retrospect, because they're living very different times than us. So, in the terms of, like, mental illness, I feel like it's very prevalent, but it's hard to see in our community when a lot of us come from something that white America would call depressed.
The other thing was the idea of whiteness, and the idea of, like, therapy is a white thing, and, like, this is a white thing, like, medication's a white thing. Like, we've stigmatized solutions so that I can't imagine that for myself without wanting to be white or without other people seeing me as whiter than I really am.